I think we could start from what's going on these days, the Tibetan protests. And because I think these protests are extremely revealing of what's going on in China and not only in Tibet. And I was answering some question in the French media a couple of days ago, and to make things short, I said, well, I said there are not 6 million Tibetans in China, there are 1 billion Tibetans. What I mean by that, that if 1 billion Chinese, the people who are not concerned by the economic development, who are not the direct beneficiaries of the economic development, if they could express themselves, probably they would more or less say the same things as the Tibetan. Not in the same way, maybe not with the same kind of aggressivity, but there is no difference between the situation in Tibet and the situation in the rest of China. If we try to understand the reasons for this Tibetan revolts, I will underline three factors which are true all over China. The first reason, as you know, for the Tibetan protest is they resist the cultural unification of China. Their language, their culture, their religion is being slowly suppressed in the name of national unification. And the Chinese government, against the Tibetan protesters, they call them splitist. They want to split apart from China. But the Tibetans are maybe treated more harshly than other people in China, but everybody is more or less treated the same way. China is in the unification process, which started a long time ago, and China is a very diversified country. It's a huge country with many languages and many cultures and many cuisine. Sometimes I'm asked, what do you think about Chinese cuisine? But I never had any Chinese cuisine. It all depends in what is the season and what is the region. But the Communist Party is trying to build a Chinese cuisine, which means the same culture, same language, same social norms for everybody in China. So people resist to that. And for example, as you probably know, except in the Guangzhou region, the television in China is only in one language, which is Mandarin. This means that the people, little by little, they lose their cultural roots and linguistic roots, and they have to forget about their language. And they have, when they watch television and mass media, and when they go to school and university, they have to shift from their original language to the national language. This is a very new process in China. So it's a kind of unification process which we had in other European countries. I mean, France was built like that in the 19th century, of course. But we are in a different time, and you take the Sichuanese people, you have 200 million people speaking Sichuanese. And little by little, they have to forget their language and to shift to another language. So the Tibetan situation, as far as culture is concerned, is not very different from other Chinese people. Same with religion. I mean, religion has been nearly destroyed during the Cultural Revolution. And most of the Chinese people, like the Tibetans, would like to rebuild their religious tradition, which were extremely strong all over China. I mean, in Beijing, a friend of mine, Christopher Schipper, wrote a book about Beijing in 1900, and he called Beijing the holy city because there were 1,000 temples in Beijing in 1900. So China was a very religious country. And Buddhism, Taoism, local religions, and all this has been destroyed. So people try to reconnect with this past, and it's not easy because it's authorized, but according to certain guidelines. I mean, you can be a Buddhist or a Taoist, but only if you join the official Buddhist church or the official Taoist church, and this is not very exciting, as you imagine. And same for the Christian, for example. I mean, you can be a Catholic or a Protestant if you join the official Catholic or Protestant churches. And the pastors and would be also civil servants paid by the regime. And so those are weird religions, and people are not very much interested in that. So what goes for Tibet goes for the rest of China.